More PDA?
Yeah, please. We're telling a romance story here.
I don't know.
Go away. Too far.
Where Jess and I's relationship started, which I've actually never shared in a story, but the way it was framed this time, that was something. It started in deceit and lie and hiding, and to see it come to this, where it is now, just to see what he did with it and is doing with it and he's gonna do with it. We're to do something with our marriage. We don't really know what that looks like, but it's burning on our hearts.
We're SROM, Solid Rock Outdoor Ministries. We've spent the last 30 years training people to be leaders in the wilderness. This time, we're taking a group of SROM veterans on their own course into Red Rock Canyon and the remote Grand Canyon to go deeper and live 15 days in the wilderness.
Get up, we'll fight the darkness right beside you day in, day out. Forget the days behind us now. You have here to stay out.
I'm ready for the adventure.
Here are our stories in the canyon.
I grew up in an amazing family, absolutely loving and adoring parents. I grew up Catholic. Being Italian, that's all it was. It was just this cold, dead religion that was part of our culture. I get to high school, just start going down the classic path, drinking a ton, running from the cops while drinking and driving, complete addiction to lust and pornography. I barely graduated high school because I was pretty out of control.
I was not raised in a Christian home. My parents split up. They were never married. I lived with my mom and my two brothers. They were into a lot of trouble and everything. And my brother Raymond, he was also in and out of trouble, but you could tell he didn't want to be in it and he didn't know how to get out of it. Him and I grew up really tight. It was my senior year of high school. I got home, I just remember seeing my mom just broken. Our neighbor was there and she walked up to me and she just said, "He did it." And I knew exactly what she meant. My brother Raymond had killed himself. He was in and out of jail. When he got out of jail this last time, he was just really struggling and would openly tell us, "I don't want to live anymore." At the time, I didn't know Christ, so I didn't know what to do. I felt like all I could tell him was, "Raymond, I need you here." It seemed like it was the only thing that gave him hope. Something that I really struggle with is, Lord, why couldn't I have known you then?
I met my wife, Jess, in 6th grade math class. We were always in the same circle of friends, and I knew her very well because she was dating my best friend.
When I lost my brother, it was really difficult to be at home. I met a group of people that was a little older than me, got involved drinking a lot, smoking marijuana. And in that time, I had broken up with his best friend.
But right during this time, before me and Jess started talking, we were at Mass this one Sunday. Priest starts doing the Eucharist, and I look over, and Pops ain't kneeling. He's just standing there and kind of looked like, not stressed, but just like something, you know? And that night, my dad, he starts telling me about this radical experience with Jesus Christ he had the night before. He got super into, trapped into the New Age movement, specifically through this book called The Secret. Basically classic New Age, through positive thinking, the universe will provide you these material things. And he was reading it one night and he said Jesus Christ showed up and pulled him out of the New Age and completely core change to the point where it was whoa, this is a new man. Literally seeing that in my father. I was really shown what happens when a father or a husband of a household places himself under the authority of Jesus Christ. The ripple effects of that are awesome. And it just puts a cheesy grin on my face because I got to see it and gain this understanding of that and now apply that. He ended up through the next year or two discipling me to Christ, brought my mother to Christ.
I was always really good in school. I was like the good kid. And then once I lost my brother, that's when I just didn't know what else to do, and I turned the other way. That's when Keith came into my life. He was kind of the opposite, where he was in all of that during high school. But when him and I first started talking was when his dad came to know the Lord. When I started talking to Keith, I was so confused. I was like, this is Keith, this is Keith Dinese. Like, he's the party king. Why does he want to go out with me and have fun? And there were multiple nights where he would know where I am, come and get me and take me away. And we would park and he would just sit with me. He ended up turning into this big safe area of my life that I felt like I had lost. We had started hanging out and dating and everything like that. And
honestly, this very secretive thing behind my best friend's back, I lied to his face about it. And that all came to a head in a very ugly way. That was the end of me and his friendship.
We sat down at his kitchen table with his dad, and he said, you guys, this is serious. You can't just be fooling around. Do you want to pursue this or not? And I just remember looking at him like I was 1,000% sure.
Over the next couple years, Jess and I are dating. He's discipling me to Christ. I'm like, Jess, you got to come to this Bible study.
Bible study. I started going to be the good girlfriend until we started going through the book of Revelation. And so I had all these questions. I even remember sitting at that same kitchen table with your dad, and I was like, what does that mean to be saved, And this had been going on for a while, all my questions, and he looked at me and he was like, Jess, I think you're saved, And I was like, what? He completely flipped my heart around.
We're growing a lot in our relationship during this time in the Lord, and
we're figuring out what we want to do, and that's when we got into backpacking more, rock climbing more.
I started to think, well, I guess I'll get a degree in adventure education.
That's when we found out about Prescott College in Arizona.
And we had no contacts in Prescott. Neither of us had actually lived outside from under our parents. We get married and move across the country and move in together, knowing no one. It was a great way to start a marriage. We literally had Christ in each other. So I'm going to Prescott College, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, how cool would it be to do wilderness ministry? I bet no one's doing that. I'm so original. Well, maybe I'll do a little Google search here, and I just Google wilderness ministry, and pop, SROM, Solid Rock Outdoor Ministries. Yeah, I ended up signing up, going. On that course, on my solo, I was sitting in my crazy creek, I flipped open my Bible, and next thing I knew, I fell out of my crazy creek. And it was just clear as day. Until I hear otherwise, I'm instructing for SROM.
Mm-hmm. When Keith got back from his WMPC last May, I saw the huge change in him. That's where I see the Lord has us right now and has me right now. My family, they're not believers. That's another big part of my story. It was a really dark time because we were a family with no hope. Even now that I know Christ and I have a relationship with him, and I still question, why couldn't I have known you sooner? But that's a huge part of my story, because if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have gone down that silly, rebellious path. I wouldn't have broken up with that guy and started talking to Keith, and I might not know the Lord through that.
Where Jess and I's relationship started in deceit and lie and hiding, and to see it come to this, just to see what he did with it and is doing with it and he's gonna do with it. We're to do something with our marriage. We don't really know what that looks like, but it's burning on our hearts.
I just know that the Lord is really intentional in what he is doing here. This is a big opportunity for all of us here to shine his light and glorify him. I think that's the biggest thing. That's all I want out of this, is just to bring glory to God, and whatever that looks like. However he wants to use us, use our words, use our climbing, use whatever he wants. I just want it to glorify him 100%.